We are in the economy. We're investing, we're creating, we're employing people, we're helping other business owners. Bookkeepers are actually the first financial advisors that many small business owners have. And yet, sometimes we have difficulties with charging the right amount of money so we can grow our own businesses, for example, or working on our businesses instead of working in our businesses. So at Knowledge Bureau, we're not just concerned about your own professional credentials, which are very important, but we're also concerned about training your staff and then giving you opportunities to be a better leader and what we call a better business builder. So our programs scan all sides of that educational value proposition.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a good one. Our guest is the founder and president of the Knowledge Bureau, which is Canada's leading national post-secondary educational institute for continuing professional development in the tax and financial services. She's also Canada's most respected educator in tax and financial services and one of Canada's most prolific financial authors. As well, she was recently named one of the top 25 women of influence in Canada for the second time. Evelyn Jacks, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a delight to be here.
So first off, Evelyn, let us know your career journey leading up to this point and how you got to be the founder of the Knowledge Bureau.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. I actually started my career back in the day as a business education teacher, so my heart has always been in education. And by becoming the Vice President of Education for a national tax preparation firm, I was responsible for training tax professionals through a variety of different technological advances. So we started with people learning how to do taxes literally by sending in assignments, and then technology allowed us to go from that to, of course, e-filing. Our firm was able to participate in the original e-filing project. And from there, I realized that the future is now, and that both tax and bookkeepers and financial advisors really are challenged to do what they do, not just by giving sound advice to their clients, but also by keeping up with technology. And so today, Knowledge Bureau has a multi-advisory audience. We have over 1,500 students that study with us in our formal programs, but hundreds of thousands more who take at least one CE hour with us, all the way up to a designation program. And still today, we are challenged by technology. We are in a new gig economy, and we find that artificial intelligence is going to dramatically shrink one side of the market, the transactional side of the market, but it's going to bring new opportunities for bookkeepers to recalibrate their success as a knowledgeable, confident, skilled, and successful business builder with their clients. So I'm really passionate about that, and so is everyone in our company.
Beautiful. Well, we're passionate about it over here as well. We believe that bookkeepers have the best opportunity to support small business owners around the world in being more successful, and that leads to better communities because, let's face it, small business is what builds great communities, which builds great countries. Small business owners are the ones that create the majority of the jobs. They create innovation. They take all the risk. They are doing a great thing for our country and countries, if we speak for every listener that's listening from around the world. So, you're doing great work in preparing bookkeepers to be able to do that work because they need it. It is a great need.
Yes, and I find that, because so many of us are so busy in the details of our work, sometimes we just have to put our heads up and pat ourselves on the back for the reason that you have said. We are in the economy, we're investing, we're creating, we're employing people, we're helping other business owners. Bookkeepers are actually the first financial advisors that many small business owners have. And yet, sometimes we have difficulties with charging the right amount of money so we can grow our own businesses, for example, or working on our businesses instead of working in our businesses. So at Knowledge Bureau, we're not just concerned about your own professional credentials, which are very important, but we're also concerned about training your staff and then giving you opportunities to be a better leader and what we call a better business builder. So our programs scan all sides of that educational value proposition.
Beautiful. So let's talk a bit about that. You mentioned a few things there, some of the likely the top challenges around what our listener is facing. And one of them you mentioned was pricing. Tell us a little bit more about your take on that.
Well, just like it's hard to do your own CV or to promote yourself in a job interview or in front of a new client, likewise, for some people, doing their pricing strategies is sort of passing judgment on the quality of their work. And it's really hard to justify your own charges. However, I really like to talk to bookkeepers about a different take on that. It is easier to justify your value proposition, the fact that your clients want you to be there year over year, when you explain to them that their investment in you is going to ensure that. When we were in the tax preparation business, there was always someone who was coming in the office, and we would call these people price jumpers because they would always be willing to leave your firm for somebody else for $5 or $10. And we realized that those were not our ideal clients. We used to say to people, we are going to set a fair charge for the investment in you and in our staff, in our knowledge and in our innovation. And this is not just about today. It's about coming back next year or next month or in the next quarter to serve you again with excellence. Just like you would hate to see your doctor disappear because they couldn't make a good living or because the ecosystem around them was not healthy. Likewise, a bookkeeper serves a very, very important role within every small business's success, and they need to have the confidence to price accordingly. So we like to talk to business owners about that, especially to bookkeepers, and we like to encourage them to sit back and do the business plans that allow them to price so that they can be back next year.
I love that. It's that whole concept of put the oxygen mask on yourself first when you're riding in a plane. You've likely, if you've been in a plane, you've heard that. Maybe for some, millions of times it might seem. However, such a brilliant analogy back to what you're saying is that your business owner, and we talked about this, they need you badly in order to be successful. And if you're not successful, if you're not winning, you're not going to stay in the game and they're going to lose. And so this concept of thinking of the value that you provide, and it can't be in the bookkeeper's head. That's where the action must be taken, is that those conversations, just like you're saying right now, those have to be conversations that are had with the owners. And it's not like they're going to figure this out on their own, how valuable a bookkeeper is. They may not even realize how valuable you are until you've had that conversation. And that's, I think that's part of what you're saying around this. It's hard to write your own CV. It's hard to know what part of what you do is valuable. And I think that's where it's important for services like you offer, where you could be around other bookkeepers, where you can have these conversations and then take that back and help business owners realize the value that you provide. And that then leads to better pricing.
That's what's important about taking out some time to do some education for yourself. I am very lucky. I have 2 grown sons, and throughout our family life together, I would always tell them, if you're ever stuck, go back to your educational roots. And that has served my sons well, it's served my husband and I well, and it will serve you well. Because when you take that time to work on your thought leadership, we established Knowledge Bureau so that it would be an online school. So very busy people could study 24/7 and yet still benefit from email support from our instructors. And so what that might mean for you is it might be at the end of an evening, you might be sitting in your slippers, the kids might be in bed, and you have the opportunity to do something thought-provoking within your industry to move the needle forward. For example, you are the person who is going to be at the forefront of responsibility for the biggest compliance officer of all, and that's the tax departments around the world. In your position, you're responsible for making tax remittances, and you're responsible for doing that on a regular basis. In fact, we tell people the first person in for any small business venture is always the bookkeeper, because if you don't get that right, if you don't make your sales tax remittances, your payroll remittances on time, you're going to have a big headache really soon. And that's why a bookkeeper learning tax knowledge, corporate tax knowledge, individual tax knowledge, retirement and estate planning can so open up your value to your client and the other advisors that your client might be working with, like lawyers or financial advisors, for example. It is your ticket to having a larger knowledge base, but a bigger confidence level.
I love that. It reminds me of a lesson that my father gave me, which was to always understand the role that others that you're working with are playing. He used to always say, you have to learn the other person's job. And he was an electrical contractor and a great, really very, very good electrician. And he was always learning what was the carpenter doing, what was the engineer doing, what was the plumber doing, all of these, what were they all doing, how did their job work, what was important to them, because that, for him, enabled him to do the work that supported what they were doing. And that made him valuable. And for what you're saying is all of this knowledge from the tax accountant, from what they need from a legal standpoint, what they might need from a financial planning standpoint. If you understand those things, you're kind of the point guard that can help all of those players be more successful. And the end winner, the ultimate winner, is your client.
Yes, and bookkeepers, again, may not know this. You may not really think about yourself in this way, but what you're describing is the most trusted advisor. At Knowledge Bureau, we believe in a philosophy, and we call it real wealth management, and that is how much your family over a series of life cycles can accumulate, grow, preserve, and transition their wealth after taxes, inflation, and fees. And here in Canada at the moment, we are just contemplating a very controversial tax reform that's going to make the taxation of private corporations much more expensive and in particular drive a new onus of proof onto business owners and their families. And so that most trusted advisor, that bookkeeper who on a day-to-day basis really understands what the transactions are and what the contributions, both capital and through labor, of all the family members are, becomes such an important point of consideration with all the other family members and all the other advisors. So the bookkeeper can truly participate in being that real wealth manager and help their business owner client substantiate their decision-making and make more and better decisions. At the end of the day, this is about you helping them simplify their efforts and getting better results in their decision making, and as a result of that, making more money.
Which is just brilliant. You've written several books for consumers on tax and wealth management. In fact, I believe it's 52 books. That's phenomenal.
Well, you know what, I really am passionate about this subject because at the end of the day, first of all, as a teacher, here in Canada, we have 28 million taxpayers. And for most of them, the tax system is really quite bamboozling. They don't understand the terms and they don't understand their system quite well. But they pay their taxes. We have a very compliant tax-paying base. Over 90% of both corporate and individual returns are filed on time. So people try to comply with a self-assessment system. And yet they realize, and especially as they get to higher income levels, that governments can take up to 50% or more of what they earn. And so what this becomes is about not how much you earn, it becomes about how much you keep. With a business structure, a bookkeeper and business owner have a lot more flexibility than an employee. They can determine, for example, how their compensation is going to be earned within the family. Is it going to be salary or dividends? Or are we going to retain the earnings in order to invest in our equity for a future sale? Are there going to be taxable or tax-free benefits that we can use lower tax corporate dollars for? These are important conversations, and a bookkeeper who knows and understands more about each of those avenues is going to give much more valuable advice. So again, by jumping right in, reading a little bit more, learning about a little bit more, we don't necessarily want to make tax preparers or financial advisors out of you, but what we want you to do is to be a better leader in all of those areas, to have deeper, broader knowledge so you can help your business owner clients in a more significant way.
I think it comes back to that conversation that you opened up with around the change that's happening in the industry with artificial intelligence and all sorts of different technology. This really is the area of opportunity. The future area of opportunity will only grow. And I like that you highlighted, it's not that you're training to be the tax preparer. It's not that you're training, and some listening will do that work, and that's great, no problem there. But the average bookkeeper armed with this information becomes more valuable, not only to your client, the small business owner, but to all of their partners. And from a marketing standpoint, from a business growth standpoint, I mean, it's gold. I mean, if you're helping your client at the same time, that helps the financial advisor, that helps the tax accountant, that helps the lawyer. That's a referral base that is, who are they going to want to work with? Somebody that's helping make everybody's lives more easy, which really is the main client. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I actually love what you're saying. And I don't know that that's been a big conversation. I mean, we've been speaking to hundreds and hundreds of bookkeepers. We've had several guests on. I don't know that many have talked about doing a deeper dive into this type of education. No surprise. You've got 52 books written. You're the founder of the Knowledge Bureau. You're helping hundreds of thousands of people educate themselves around this topic. In fact, what's interesting, Evelyn, is we did a poll on the Successful Bookkeeper Facebook group, which is our free community for bookkeepers. They're bookkeepers from all over the world. And Knowledge Bureau was actually rated as one of the most valuable options for learning more about bookkeeping, which I think is definitely a tip of the hat in your direction.
That is music to my ears, and something that my staff will be just so pleased to hear about. Also, I want to tell you that so many of our content providers and student support catalysts are people who have earned our designations and who want to help other bookkeepers and advisors in the financial services to get theirs. And so we're so proud of the fact that knowledge is very, very valuable when it's shared. And within the network of people that we're building in the Knowledge Bureau, not only are they learning with us, but they're teaching with us. And so, that's just such a wonderful thing when that happens. I also want to point out in this sort of innovative conversation that we're having that KPMG in Australia did an interesting study of the tax industry in 2016, and it related to how artificial intelligence is changing our world. And basically, they found that it will shrink the market of tax preparers quite significantly, and we expect that the transactional bookkeeper is going to feel the same effect. And what they found was that only higher value add tax agents, they call them, will remain, and that their survival will be based on providing a significant value add in the area of advice, and specifically the ideal skill set, the essential feature of a good tax leader was someone who had good judgment. And I found that to be quite interesting because it's not just how you do the books, but the judgment and the wisdom and the experience that you bring to the decision-making and the interpretation of what you have done for your business owner that becomes very important as you look at your practice in the future.
I love it. Absolute. Small business owner needs that translation, and that translation can only come from a deep understanding of the business and a deep understanding of the work that you do. And so more training, more education, more experiences, it leads to wisdom, and wisdom is valuable. And so whilst things are changing from how technology and how things are being recorded and reported, somebody is always going to be needed. A brain with common sense is going to be needed to translate what does this all mean. And if you're one of those people, you're going to be positioned well in the future.
Well, in addition, remember, you are the person who is giving control and at the same time delight to your clients, because you're keeping the tax department out of their hair. You're dealing with those financial details so that they too can go forward. How disruptive technologies and changing economies are affecting them. To some degree, we're all in this together as we progress forward into the future. And the bookkeeper is that solid soul, in the background that is allowing the business owner client to go out and do their thing. So if nothing else, we just love to give you that high five and to say, well done, you're doing important work, and hopefully through a lifetime of continuing education, it's going to continue to give you the clues that you need to help your business owner client be excellent in what they do.
Beautiful. I have to say another, and it's showing very loudly why Marna Pratt, who's one of our clients actually, and listeners, Marna Pratt, who actually recommend that we contact you. And she actually, one of the areas that she wanted you to chime in on and give more suggestions was somewhat in this area, but around how bookkeepers can find specifically more deductions for their clients. Now, I think what we've been talking about this entire episode has been about that value stacking and really positioning yourself as an irreplaceable asset for your clients. But with that question in mind, how would you respond?
Well, I really do believe that any bookkeeper who has not yet taken a tax course, both personal and corporate, absolutely should make that part of their indispensable toolkit going forward. At Knowledge Bureau, we have a tax services specialist program, and that will train you and your staff to professionally prepare personal tax returns. We have a business services specialist program, which will train you to do corporate tax returns for micro businesses, for professionals, and to participate in owner-manager compensation planning. And then, of course, we have our bookkeeping services specialist program, which takes a bookkeeper through the life cycle of a business, from startup all the way to a business sale and valuation, to understand what it is that those numbers mean as the business starts, grows, and then transitions on to another owner. So tax is such a big part of that. And if you don't know tax, do consider it, because it will hugely embellish on your value proposition.
I love it. And I think it really does flow with the conversation. It's a real high opportunity area. And so the more education, the more knowledge just improves our listeners' ability to make recommendations, find opportunity within the work they're doing. And boy, anytime you can have more money remain in the client's pocket, you're going to be well loved. Well,
exactly. And individual tax deductions, to your earlier point, are critical. It is those details. But also remember, as you're looking at payroll and you're thinking about how can we be helping the employees of this firm to pay less tax so they can contribute to their RSPs or TFSAs. These are registered and tax sheltered programs in Canada that can help families really build wealth. Again, the bookkeepers should consider themselves as part of that value proposition in building wealth. There's lots we can do to reduce taxes at source. Likewise, when employees retire, there's lots that we can do to help them do some income splitting to shore up the value of the dollars that are coming out of their severance packages. So it's a lot of fun, and don't think that the bookkeeper doesn't need to be a part of it. You're central to it, and that's where your new passion for your new value proposition can come from.
You know, this is just fantastic. I love this episode. This is a real big area of opportunity. And I think that having a grander understanding of tax and the implications of not only for your client, but their staff. I mean, just think of that perspective. It just positions a bookkeeper and creates a really, really fantastic opportunity to be incredibly valuable. And that is the pathway to having a successful business. If you can be that type of person that has that knowledge, and you don't have to be the expert, but you have to go and learn more, and then learn more and learn more and learn more. It's that lifetime learners go and keep learning. So I don't want anybody to walk away thinking, oh goodness, something more now that I need to learn. I think the big takeaway I'm hearing is put your toe in this pool, get more information, take some courses, learn about it, find out what opportunities you can to put yourself around the experts like Evelyn that can help you understand how you can help serve your client better. Evelyn, I really, really have enjoyed this conversation with you, but I'd like to open it up. Are there any other thoughts or suggestions you'd like to share with our listener?
Well, I've enjoyed it so much too, and I just want to share with you that, learning to know is important. Learning to think is absolutely mind-blowing, because it really will give you that opportunity to think about the judgment proposition that your client really wants from you. And one better time to do it, I always feel highly energized. In September, it is back to school time. It is a number of months before the very busy tax and RSP season here in Canada. And it's a great opportunity for you to share knowledge, to start some study groups. An online learning opportunity will give you the added benefit of inviting some of your friends and colleagues. And what more fun there is than to learn together to have a framework for putting together some case studies and some questions that you can all answer together, and to do some mentorship, to bring some of the younger members of your team into a study group and to discuss things that happen in the office year over year that you can anticipate or do better because you have a framework for working together through education. So it's a great time to do that. It is early fall, and I hope that people will think about not just studying for themselves, but to study in a group and to share the knowledge.
You absolutely nailed it. And I want to just make sure I heard that correctly. It's not about, how did you say it? It was learning not to know, but learning to...
learning how to think.
Learning how to think.
Learning to think again.
Yeah. Very, very great advice. And I think faced with the future that we have, this whole conversation, that sums it up very, very nicely. Let's do the challenge. You're there, you're listening. What's one piece of education where you can take that on to increase your ability to think? And that will only produce dividends down in the future. It is an excellent time. There's no better time to add to your education than right now. So go out and do it. And you'll feel better about yourself. You'll have more confidence when you're out there speaking to your clients. It's perfect. And I recommend that you check out the Knowledge Bureau, and sounds like, and is recommended by many in our community. And special thanks as well to Marna Pratt, who recommend we have you on the show, and as well all the other community members that have been talking about Knowledge Bureau all over the Successful Bookkeeper. Evelyn, this has been absolutely terrific. If people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity, and we would love for people to join us at knowledgebureau.com. We also tweet and are quite involved in social media. We want to hear from you. We have a free newsletter that you can sign up for and called Knowledge Bureau Report. It interprets all the news of interest to the tax, bookkeeping, and financial services industry, and we often poll and get your opinion about things. So again, our goal is to share knowledge, and we hope that through Knowledge Bureau, you might find a way to get involved.
That's excellent. And now, are your programs applicable to those outside of Canada?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, we often get people who are wanting to know more about real wealth management as a way to practice, our new Executive Business Builder program as a way to build their own firms or help their small business owners that they work for build their foundations in their business. And of course, our bookkeeping and tax courses are so popular as we move into a global taxation system. I think that it's a very good idea no matter where you live.
Beautiful. Well, this is fantastic. Lots of opportunity. Thank you so much for being on the Successful Bookkeeper podcast.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
That wraps another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.